Anything special that you might be hoping to hear today? Grim?
No, I mean, I'm interested to hear more about, the next season and seeing what changes are coming. But I mean, I'm happy with the game, as of right now. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next part of the storyline, especially after that trailer. That that was brutal.
Well, yeah, but that's not the. That's the expansion. That's season
Yeah,
6.
the next season, like I said, now that the teams have combined, I am interested. Not scared of what the next season holds. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I mean, even the seasonal stuff, like the Iron Wolves, is cool, but it's just it's just something to do. The Iron Wolves stuff, what I almost completed an entire Iron Wolves in a day, and that was only like 3 4 hours worth of play. If I'd been playing it all day, I could have easily completed the seasonal thing within a day. I still want to get some more Ubers, which I do have quite a bit of material built up if you want to do an Uber run later today. Did your wife ever hit 100?
Yeah, she's 100
She got her build figured out.
for the most part. Yeah.
That's right. She's got work this afternoon, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's already gone for the day.
Yeah, other than running my wife to town and letting her clean out her car and put gas and stuff in it later today. I'm only mortal right now, just trying to play catch up before we got rage tonight.
Oh, we do have raids tonight. That's right.
I'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Okay, well, it's going to start before then.
Yeah, I know. Ain't much I can do about it at the moment. Had a big lunch.
Uh huh. Hello, Rat. I'm doing well this afternoon. How are you? Hello, Paladin. I didn't see you had written on there. Let me know if that's too loud for you guys.
Season 4 is going to be the biggest update we have ever made to Diablo 4 since it has launched.
Our focus on Season 4 is to really make a lot of evergreen updates to the core systems of Diablo 4.
In Season 4, we're ramping the intensity across the seasonal and eternal realms through a collection of new activities aimed at ensuring the moment-to-moment gameplay experience is as exciting and rewarding when Hal comes to Sanctuary.
What am I hoping for the update? Well,
Season 4 item changes are...
I really don't know. It's all about Season 5,
Never done anything like
so I'm
this.
just
We are
interested to see
fundamentally
what's
changing
coming with
how
Season
you
5,
engage with items,
what their new
how you
game
upgrade
mechanic
them,
is.
and along the way, solving a lot of things that we've seen.
They're talking about a
particularly from our
PTR,
community, we
which
agree
should
with
be
our
coming
pain
out
points
pretty
of our
soon.
existing item system
And
right now.
So in this
I
new
know they're
itemization
swapping a
system,
few
we're
things,
focusing on narrowing down the scope
uh,
of the base
which is
affixes.
why
They're going to be a
they
lot
did
simpler, they're going to be fewer in number, so you can much
the
more
Season
easily
4
parse whether this item is useful for you,
mid-patch
and if
update
it is, then you
before
can
the
take it and
PTR.
further upgrade it and customize it to your own specific build.
However,
Tempering is a new
Season
system that
5
allows
is
you
going to
to
be
really
super short.
customize the gear that you find.
Normally they go
Or
like
to
12
temper,
weeks.
you
This
need to
one's
go
only
to
going to be like
blacksmith and
6
then choose the recipe that you wish to
or
temper from,
9,
and
something
then
like
a
that.
random affix from that recipe
Because
will be
of
attached
the
onto
expansion
your
coming
gear.
out in October.
Tempering recipes can be found from almost all of the content throughout Sanctuaries.
So you will actually be looking for tempering recipes
fact,
that go directly with what you're envisioning. Maybe you're thinking, I'm going to play a frost sorceress.
Yeah,
There are also going to be recipes that are more generic and maybe are just generally good for the sorceress, but
expansion
you'll
comes
be able
out
to choose
October
which one you
8th,
think is going to be most powerful
and I think
with the build
D4
you're making
goes
for your
through,
class.
Season 4 goes through like August 16th or
We're
August
making a pretty
12th.
radical change to the Codex of Power
So it's only
in
going to
this
be like
season,
2 months
based again on the feedback that has been coming from our
for
players.
Season
Now,
5.
every single legendary in the game will be entered into your Codex of Power so that you can continually imprint the best possible version of that legendary onto your gear.
So going forward, there will no longer be carrying around all of these aspect crystals in your inventory. It's all going to be in the Codex of Power. So part of the final system that we have is going to be greater affixes. What's a greater affix? Well, we want to keep it compelling that there are some drops that are even better than the others when you're trying to get the perfect build at endgame. Because of this, in World Tier 4, and only in World Tier 4, when an ancestral legendary item drops, there's a chance the affixes on it can roll as greater affixes. These will roll with bigger values that are normally available for that affix.
Greater affixes are fairly rare, but they're not impossible to find. While leveling up, you're going to be able to find upgrades much more easily with this new system.
Another part of itemization is going to be masterworking. Now, this is something really intended for that very high.
This is
end
all
game,
Season
again,
4
World Tier
stuff.
4.
This is all the
where a
stuff they
player
showed
is going to take an
2 months
item,
ago.
already has the affixes that they want on it, but now they go through a process of upgrading those affixes, getting even higher values on them.
Masterworking really starts at level 100. Once you've already completed your build and found some of the best items, you're going to be able to test your build against the powerful enemies of the pit.
The pit is a new endgame system that has been added in this season that is going to challenge players that feel that they have largely maximized their build.
By pushing into more difficult tiers of the pit, you're going to be able to unlock rarer crafting materials to masterwork your gear even further.
You're going to have to play some of the hardest content in the game, but once you do, if you're successful, you can go and make those affixes even stronger.
In Season 4, we're ramping the intensity of the Helltides through the inclusion of a variety of new activities, the first of which is a doubling down and rise of the cultists' presence throughout the tide. You're going to be running through the Helltide, seeing the cultists just conjuring up swarms and swarms of demons, adding to that sense of manic and chaos that, they're pretty well known for. The other archetype that we're adding is the presence of the Doomsayers, who were unfortunate enough to be caught out in the tide and basically just lost their minds to all of the mania going on around them. And lastly, rounding out the new activities are just the inclusion of the Iron Wolves. They're finally joining the fight. It could no longer stand in the sidelines, seeing the Helltides and Hell's forces intensify their assault on Sanctuary. As Season 4 players engage and progress through the Call of the Wolves seasonal activity, they'll earn honor with the Iron Wolves, unlocking access to a vast assortment of rewards to accompany and empower your Season 4 journeys. In the updated Helltide, for players who are able to stay alive long enough, they'll be paid a visit by the Hellborn, former heroes of Sanctuary who have aligned with the forces of Hell to attack the allies they once aligned with. Players who are able to take down the Hellborn will be acquiring the materials they need to engage with the new premier Helltide activity, the Accursed Rituals. Located in the Helltide, these Accursed Rituals are pretty much just botched rituals from the cultists that players will be kickstarting for themselves, drawing the attention of all the nearby Helltide monsters in this kind of all-out battle. One of my favorite themes for these ambushes is the Hellworm. It's literally a giant hell slug beast that emerges from the ground and it spews out a whole bunch of mobs at you. If you're able to survive that, you'll be paid a visit from the Blood Maiden, our brand new Helltide mini-boss and one of the ultimate challenges in the new experience.
So I think I'm actually most excited about this season because of what you're able to do with your old characters, how they can integrate with this new item game and take them to new levels of power with this system.
I think that the best part of this update is that you're going to be really empowered to build the character that you want to play. You're going to be able to pick custom affixes and enhance your character in a lot of new and interesting ways.
Happy Friday, Diablo community. Welcome to another Diablo 4 Campfire Chat. I am Adam Fletcher. I'm joined here by a very familiar face, Mr. Adam Jackson.
Hello, hello.
The Adams have invaded. We've taken over.
Won.
We have taken over. We actually are joined by one additional person, and this person is tuning in, patching in. I don't know what the phoning in. I don't know. From Albany, Blizzard Albany, and that's Mr. Dan Tanguay. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, I'm Dan Tanguay, and I'm one of the lead seasons designers for Diablo 4. And yeah, we've got a lot of exciting stuff to share with you.
Awesome. Great to hear from Dan. Dan is kind of like melting in Albany. I believe it's very, very warm up there. It's actually warmer there than California, which is kind of crazy. But
It is, yeah.
Look at this. Adam and Adam.
Ooh, I love it.
We did it.
No more Joes.
Yeah, no more Joes. Where's Joe Pipora? Not here. He's actually on vacation, so that's the reason why he's not here. But we have a lot to talk about today. We are actually going to be talking about Season 5 and the PTR. And we do want to, there's been a lot going on with Diablo 4 over the last couple months.
Yeah.
Obviously, Season 4 is launched. We had our mid-season update last week. We introduced pets. Which is really cool. No one expected it, but we did introduce pets within Season 4. And at the same time, we also had our release date announcement for Vessel of Hatred, which is October 8th. Yep. So lots and lots and lots of cool stuff that's going on with Diablo 4. And we have more to share today. But of course, with PTR, we do need to talk a little bit of the housekeeping stuff to make sure that players are aware of it and when it's going to start. Currently, we have Season 5 PTR actually starting next Tuesday, and that is on the 25th. It will run for 1 week, similar to the Season 4 PTR. It is PC Battle.net only again. It is just easier for us to be able to get builds up and get things out and get feedback in really quickly when we have it on PC Battle.net. So that will be going live next Tuesday. Everything that we're talking about today will be in a blog that will go live after the stream, as well as patch notes will be going live after the stream, and they're pretty beefy in themselves. Or in it. I don't know. It's Friday, you guys. We haven't done a Friday stream, and I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a long while. For feedback, though, we will be opening up our PTR forums for players to actually be able to submit feedback. So the Diablo 4 forums will have a special section for PTR. And then separately, if you do want to leave feedback on other avenues, such as Reddit or the Community Sanctuary Discord, places like that, we most definitely end up combing through all the different various ways of players being able to provide feedback specifically from that end. For this PTR, we will note that This one will be a little different than Season 4 in regards to how you can start off characters. There will still be character boosts.
I'm back.
Like
I was watching the stream. I have it turned all the way up. I can barely hear them.
Different city. I can't recall. I think we had it in Kyovoshad before, and I believe it's in a different city, and I don't recall
Still there?
which city it is. It's in the blog, though. But all that information will be there after the stream. Separately, we did incorporate a character copy feature, but we initiated this character copy already. No one knows this, but as of yesterday, characters were copied from your accounts over to PTR. So it gives you a little bit of variety of being able to take over some of those characters that you've already built out. Or, you know, if you want to, you can still use the character boost. I will note, we do want players to be experiencing it in like a variety of ways, like whether using your other your current characters that we're copying over, or if you're using some of the character boosts, we do recommend, or if you want to level up from level 1, too, like that's another option as well. It allows us to get feedback from all different aspects, so we do recommend, you know, trying it out in different ways and providing feedback of like how things feel, how things flow within the PTR itself. So that is all kind of like the general housekeeping notes that we do have. Oh, and I will say that I believe we actually did we did correct that Codex of Power reset thing as well.
Did they say when the PTR will
I remember
start?
that was
Tuesday.
plaguing some people last season. We did correct that, so it won't reset. I believe every single time you end up like creating a new character or boosting a new character, I believe. And then separately on the forums, we will have a known issues list. Because they're, you know, it's PTR, it's an early build, so we want to make sure that people are aware of that. And with PTR, you know, when we take in feedback, it's great for players to be able to like provide all various forms of feedback. I will say by the time Season 5 launches, we will try our best to get as much of that feedback in. If it's something that's like a massive, like, oh, like a huge overhaul or something like that, I wouldn't expect it in Season 5, but it is good to hear that feedback because it might be something that we end up incorporating maybe in the future for like a future season from that end.
Yeah, it's very useful. So
But,
it totally
yeah.
helps us drive future decisions, and even we did a lot of reaction to PTR feedback in Season 4. If I remember right, we did like a whole lot on our team at least, and I expect the same for Season 5. So
Exactly.
send it in; it's very useful.
And then one last thing I do want to note is because players have probably seen when Season 4 is ending, which is currently in early August. You can see that kind of like on your character select screen when you're jumping into the game. I will note that Season 5 is a little bit shorter of a season than what we've had beforehand. Season 5 itself will run until that October 8th date with Vessel of Hatred, because Vessel of Hatred is actually the start of Season 6. So we did want to at least clarify, make sure, because we've heard a lot of those questions of like, hey, is Vessel of Hatred hitting in the middle of Season 5, things like that. So we did want to note that from that end. But enough of the housekeeping notes. I know a lot of players want to hear about Season 5 in itself. And so Mr. Dan Tanguay from the sweltering city limits of Albany will be walking us through Season 5.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's dive into the new features on PTR for Season 5. Just to give you a little bit of context, you know, we did some early brainstorming for Season 5, and we knew that, you know, we needed to build out the end game. So end game, you know, we've heard y'all that end game is very important. And Season 4, we added the pit into the end game, and some people have been playing Helltides into the end game, but we still want to expand the end game a bit more, right? So if it's an end game activity, we definitely need something that's rewarding and very replayable. We also wanted to make something with a lot of monsters. I mean, monster density and just entering that feeling of flow state's really important for players. We needed something that had stakes, and we wanted players to push their luck. And finally, we really wanted to return to hell. You know, previous Diablo games let you return to hell after you defeat the big boss, but Diablo 4 hadn't done that yet. And so with all those goals in mind, let me introduce you to the Infernal Hordes. Now, let me give you a quick summary of what the Infernal Hordes is. It's a wave-based gameplay mode with survivor-like choices in between the waves, and it'll culminate with an all-new boss encounter. And then the rewards build on top of itemization 2.0 that came in Season 4. So, now how do you go about confronting the internal hordes? How do you get back to hell? I think we can queue up some footage, and then I'll talk you through some of the ways you get back to hell. All right, first off, you're going to unlock, the activity for hell with a brisk eternal quest line starting at World Tier 3 in Zarbinzet. That's where you need to go in the PTR. Now you need a new type of key called a compass, which you can see down in the inventory below here. And like Nightmare Dungeons, the compasses all have a starting monster difficulty and a number of revives. And there are 8 levels of difficulty with escalating challenge and rewards. As you can see, it's a very Nightmare Dungeon-like flow here. And then compasses can be upgraded to higher tiers with all new consumables called Abyssal Scrolls. So you'll get a chance to play with all these new features when you're in the PTR. But let's really talk about the gameplay itself. And I think we've got some footage of the wave-based play that we can show off here. First off, gonna have a lot of monsters. Now, you have one monster here. This is the start of wave 1. And so you defeat this Aether Fiend, and it's gonna drop something called Burning Aether, which is a new currency. Now, this new currency is specific to Hell, and you use it to unlock the spoils of Hell at the end of a run. And at the end of each wave, there's going to be what's called the Infernal Offer. So let's get through this wave and we'll take a look at the Infernal Offer. Now you see these hands reaching out from hell itself, and they're tempting you with a choice. You're going to choose the form of your destructor. You're going to pick a boon and a bane that impacts the rest of your run. And so now you've chosen a boon and a bane, and that's going to modify the gameplay that comes up next. And so here you're jumping into one of the new activities that also unlocks Aether in this. And this is a Soul Spire. It's pretty similar to a Hell Spire that you'd see in Helltide. And you have to kill a number of enemies within that ring in order to be able to earn an Aether. And you can upgrade Soul Spires from the Infernal Offer as well if you like. And then finally, what you need to do is complete the number of waves in order to be able to confront the boss. And so you see in this particular run, you're at 5 of 5 waves. So you are just about ready once you defeat this wave to go confront the new bosses for the Infernal Hordes. So we'll finish collecting our Aether here, find our last number of enemies, and I think we're good. I think we're ready to go. So let's take a look at our new bosses. I think we've got some cool art to share here. So these are the Fell Council. They're going to be some familiar faces for Diablo 2 players. They are resurrected versions of the council members from Diablo 2. Now, for those of you who didn't play Diablo 2, the council members were former high priests of the Zakarum, and they had promised to basically take care of Mephisto after he'd been trapped in the Soul Stone, and he'd been hidden down in Kurast and Travincal. And of course, as it happens, Mephisto corrupted them, both in mind first and then their bodies, and they became demons who are just zealous and serve him without question. And so we thought it was going to be really cool to be able to resurrect them and bring them back for Diablo 4, and they fit great in Hell. We had to tweak their power sets a little bit to fit the D4 combat system. So we gave them new titles and new looks to really reflect their combat specialties.
Yeah, I will say it's incredibly awesome to see these guys come back. It's giving very nostalgic vibes of doing a bunch of Durance of Hate runs for Mephisto and doing Meph runs and everything like that. Exciting. So yeah, it's really awesome to see him back in Season 5.
Yeah, I agree. Diablo 2 is certainly near and dear to our hearts here out in New York. And yeah, we're really glad to have him back, and we hope to see hopefully more returning new faces in the future too. So let's take a look at that boss encounter now. So I showed you a number of members of the Fell Council here. We've actually built 5 of them in total, but you're only going to fight 3 at a time. Now we keep 2 in the hopper basically, and we do that because we want to have a whole bunch of replay associated with this boss fight. And because we're only using 3 of the 5, there's actually 10 variations of this boss fight you can fight randomly as you do your Infernal run. And so we're gonna basically kill them off. And once you defeat one, the fight will actually escalate. Actually, it probably escalates even if you just take down a certain amount of health, if I remember correctly. And it escalates. Basically, their attacks become more powerful, and then they start really getting even more powerful kind of room clearing attacks towards the end. But we've defeated them here, and this is the reward moment I actually wanted to talk through with you, because this is something that really ties into itemization 2.0. You've got several chests here, and you've got a choice of the rewards you get at the end of your Infernal run. You can choose from a chest that contains all new legendaries and uniques. You can choose from a chest that contains all sorts of crafting materials, including masterworking materials, so you don't need to go to the pit anymore exclusively to get masterworking materials. You've got a chest that allows you just to get a whole bunch of gold. I know people out there are really asking for gold, and this is going to be a good source of it. And finally, even though it wasn't shown here, you have a chest that guarantees a single item with a greater affix on it. And so we thought we'd want to try this out and see how people respond to it. And we thought it would be pretty exciting. You know, certainly in season 4, I'm really trying to get some more greater affixes. So I'd love to have this in season 5. So yeah, let's take a closer look at some of the uniques you can farm from the Infernal Horde, since we're talking about rewards already. So we're going to queue up some footage here. So first up, we've got the Basilisk. And so this is going to be a new unique staff for druids. And so when you hit an enemy with an earth skill, it'll petrify them and deal physical damage. So turning the monsters to stone, always cool. But it's also cool
Crap
that you can
commercial.
CC your target and boost your initial attack here. So this one's pretty exciting for you druid players out there. All right, next up, we've got the Third Blade. Now this is a unique sword for barbarians. This one makes your weapon mastery skills be treated as core skills that cost fury. Even though they deal a little reduced damage, this one's pretty exciting because now you can start making all sorts of new builds that you've never seen before. So we're really interested to see what the community comes up with here. All right, next up, we've got the Mordicrux. Now the Mordicrux is a new unique dagger for Necros. So when you consume a corpse, there's a chance that you'll create a skeletal simulacrum that seeks out enemies, and when it dies, it explodes. So essentially, you're making a skelly bomb when you consume corpses, and so that's just going to seek out targets and explode. I think that'd be pretty handy for my Necro this season, so I'm looking forward to that one too. Next up, we have the Umbracrux. Now the Umbracrux is a new unique dagger for rogues. So if you use a subterfuge skill, you'll create a totem. And if you hit that totem with an attack, it replicates any of the damage it takes to all nearby enemies. And so it's a great way for essentially replicating and doubling down on the damage that you're dealing in a particular area. All right, next up we've got the Vox Omnium. Now the Vox Omnium is a new unique staff for Sorks. And so when you cast a core skill, it's going to cast an additional 2 basic projectiles based on the previous elements used. And so this allows you to really start comboing your core and basic skills together. And if you decide to have different elements associated with those core and basic skills, now you can start casting fire and lightning and cold all at the same time. So we're pretty excited about this one too. And the final one we're going to share out here is actually a new set of boots that's available for all classes. And these are called Rakanoth's Wake. And so whenever you use an ability with a cooldown, you'll trigger an explosion dealing fire damage. And so really, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to bathe your enemies in flames whenever you use a cooldown skill. So maybe I'm going to dust off my whirlwind barb here and slap them on and see how it does. So yeah, these are some of the uniques and legendaries that are going in to the Infernal Hordes. I think there are 10 uniques overall and over 20 legendaries that you can farm from the Infernal Hordes. So there's going to be a lot to chase down in there.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dan, for like sharing, going through all that stuff. I know with players jumping in on PTR, especially for and trying out Infernal Hordes and everything, what's kind of like the top things that you really want them to like kind of hone in on, give feedback on, check on for PTR?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely need feedback on the PTR. It's super critical to ensuring that, you know, the Infernal Hordes and all the rewards feel great for when the season launches. So here are some of the topics that, you know, we could use some help on. First off, you know, just how is the Infernal Hordes gameplay? How do the boons and banes feel? You know, which ones do you like the most or the least? And these are types of things that'll help us fine tune that experience. Similarly, you know, how is it acquiring compasses? Do you have too much, too few? How do you feel about upgrading them? You know, that could help us really dial in kind of the access to the Infernal Hordes. We're also interested in learning how you feel about the difficulty and the gameplay length of the different tiers. Like I said at the top, we've got 8 different tiers of difficulty. And so, you know, we have the ability to dial those in a little bit. We want to make sure that players can really replay this over and over again as they push into the end game, much like the pit. And then finally, of course, how are the rewards? You know, which do you like the most or the least? You know, we can certainly make tweaks on the rewards to make sure they're as enticing as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know with Infernal Hordes, this is another alternative because, as you mentioned, you can jump into it starting with World Tier 3. So if you're actually leveling a new character, you can actually jump into Infernal Hordes, and you're able to earn like experience. So in here, so you actually have the opportunity of like jumping into Hell Tides if you want to. You can jump into Infernal Hordes. When you get to 85 or something like that, you can jump into pits. So there's now like more or Nightmare Dungeons, obviously, when you're you're upgrading your glyphs and everything. So there's a lot of different variety now for being able to kind of level up a character, especially as you're going to that mid to late game phase of your character's journey, you could say.
Yeah, something else to bring up for the rewards for the Infernal Horde as well that I want to clarify. So Dan mentioned about, you know, there's going to be uniques that are there that you can target farm in the Infernal Hordes. There's actually going to be a group of uniques and legendaries that you're able to target farm in that piece of content in the Infernal Hordes. So you're also kind of similar to how the normal game works, you know, how you can target farm a unique from a boss, but you can find it anywhere else in the world. It's the same way here where you can get these new uniques and legendaries anywhere, but you have a better chance, you know, if you're targeting them in the Infernal Hordes. And this is the first time that we're doing this with a group of legendaries as well. We have legendary powers that are actually able to be target farmed in the Infernal Hordes, which is actually something a little bit new to the game. So I just wanted to clarify that. And in addition to that, we're also adding new uniques and legendaries to the rest of the game as well, in addition to this.
Yep.
So there's actually a very large group of uniques. I think it's over 50 or something.
Yeah, wait, there's over there's over 50 new uniques and legendaries coming into Season 5.
So we have a lot coming.
It's pretty extensive.
A lot more to talk about there too.
Yeah, this was just kind of a small preview of what people are looking at here, and they'll be able to jump in more and actually check it out on PTR because all of them will be present there. And I know Adam is actually going to talk through a few additional ones here later. But yeah, Dan, this is awesome. Can't wait for players to jump in. I appreciate you informing and providing all the new updates and everything.
Exciting.
Yep.
From the sweltering heat of Albany. I mean, I'm going to keep bringing it up. They canceled school up there. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
I'm like, that's absolutely insane. But we will be seeing Dan again here later, especially when we get into Q&A at the end. But Dan, thank you again. I think
you're welcome. Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And then I think we're going to jump into a little bit of some balance and class updates with Mr. Adam Jackson. So,
yeah, let's get to it. We have a lot to talk about. I think we have, so the topics I'm going to be covering today, we've got unique items. We're going to be talking quite a bit about that. We've got some updates to mythic uniques that are very exciting and near and dear to my heart. And then we've got your standard class updates, a lot of stuff coming in Season 5. One thing to clarify here is that we are going to be releasing the patch notes soon, so I'm not going to be going over every single class update because there's a ton of them. Kind of similar to Season 4. I'm really only going to highlight just like one major thing for each class on the stream today, but you'll be able to see all the things that we're doing in the patch notes. There's a lot. So first, uniques. We have some quality of life updates here, really targeting how you get uniques that I'm pretty pumped about to announce here today. So You can now target farm uniques from 3 additional sources. You can target them from obol vendors, helltide chests, and whisper caches. These places where you've always been able to, kind of target farm certain gear slots and not been able to get uniques, and you're wondering, well, why couldn't we do that? That stinks. Well, now you can, and it's awesome, and I love it. So here, just to give some more detail into how this works, is basically when you open, like, I'm just gonna use helltide chest as an example, right? If you want a specific unique weapon, let's say, you can just simply target the weapon helltide chests, and you'll be able to have a chance to get only unique weapons for your class from those chests. So when you're targeting a specific thing, you just go to the the place that has that slot, whether it's the obol vendor, the helltide chest, or the whisper cache, and you'll have a chance to get uniques that are targeted for that slot. So it kind of adds, while you're doing your normal grind of, doing the boss ladder, killing the boss, you can also be collecting obols, doing the helltides, doing the whispers, and having a chance to target and get that unique as well from that content. And in addition to that, this is also true for mythic uniques. So I'll just give an example here of exactly how this works. Let's say that you want to get, Harlequin Crest, a Shaco, or Andariel's Visage. You don't want to target those helms. You could be targeting helms from Helltide, targeting helms, and when you turn in your obols to the obol vendor. And every time, if you get a mythic unique, you will get one of those 2 from that source. Now, also to clarify, let's say that you are like targeting gloves for some reason. We don't have any mythic unique gloves yet. Then if you were to get a mythic unique, you still can. It'll just give you a random one instead, since you can't target one in that slot. So pretty exciting way to target kind of the things that you want while you're farming for the things that you want.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
so I know
really
we've heard a lot of players going like, hey, we do the end game bosses a whole lot. And we're trying to, and you can actually find them just in the open world as well. We've actually seen a lot of cases, especially with this past season, where players are jumping into Helltide and they're actually finding them there. But now it's an additional options for players, which I think will be a lot better for just overall finding some of the gear that everyone really wants.
As someone who, for the last 3 seasons, my uniques have always come from the Beast and Ice, I am very selfishly invested in getting this into the game.
Yes. So.
All right, let's talk about other unique updates here. We're going to be making a whole lot of updates to our unique items, so I'm going to be covering a lot today. We've heard your feedback, and we're going to be doing some updates here. To clarify, before I go into what the updates are, you are going to be seeing these updates to like the way that we think about and our philosophy around uniques and how they work. You're going to be seeing them in the PTR for the new uniques coming into Season 5. Between the PTR and the launch, you'll be seeing in the Season 5 launch these updates to all of the existing uniques in the game. So when Season 5 comes out, basically all the uniques will get these updates that I'm about to talk about. But in the PTR, you're only going to really see this in the new uniques coming into the game. Yeah, there. So now we can go on to the next part. All right, so the team's been talking a lot. As many of you probably know, in Season 4, when we did Optimization 2.0, we didn't really update the uniques almost at all in the game, right? We didn't do like a big pass to like cover how they exist in Tempering or anything like that. So the team's been talking a lot about, what is the role of uniques in Diablo 4? Like, how are they different from legendary items? Because they're kind of similar in that they both give you, a legendary power that's really strong. But how are they different, and what do we want them to be long-term? And we've kind of landed on a few things here that I'm going to talk about. The first one is that, they're powerful and exciting items that kind of direct players to builds, right? So imagine you're a Fireball Sork, we've got 2 uniques for you. They really target you. You're going to feel a lot better playing with Fireball when you take them. We want you to take these things and kind of level up your build. They're moments of like very large incremental power where you feel like you're, filling in your fantasy as a class. The next one is that they're kind of pick up and play, right? They're easy to evaluate. The moment that you pick up the unique, you know whether it's a good one or a bad one. We want this to be a little bit different from legendary powers where, you pick it up and you kind of go on a journey where, you make it into something that's really good. A unique, when you pick it up whether or not it's one that you want to keep or one that you don't. And then the last one, pretty obvious, but was worth saying, they're kind of more rare chase items that players don't see very often. When you're going through the end game, you're seeing legendary powers a lot because, we have a lot of reasons to give you a lot of them. You want to upgrade your codex. They are the way that you can, get greater affixes and temper and masterwork them. So there's a reason why you want to churn and look through a lot of them. Uniques, you do want to get a good one, obviously, but not nearly as often as like a legendary power. We don't need that aspect of their design. So they are more rare, they're harder to get, but when you get it, it's kind of like a more exciting moment. Like, did I get the perfect one? And then if not, you go and try and get the next one. So let's talk a little about our goals for the update that we're going to be doing here. One of the things that we come to a lot that we talk about on the team is this idea. I like this quote of like players build their legendaries and players build around their uniques, right? Your legendary power is very, or your legendary items are very malleable. You know, the moment you get it, you don't know yet if it's going to be the best in slot item, but it has a chance to be. But they're also like able to fit in a lot of different ways. You can manipulate their stats via, you know, enchanting, via tempering, and masterworking. And so there's a lot that you can do with the item once you've gotten it. Whereas uniques, they're a lot more static, right? The stats on them can't change. You can't really manipulate them very much. And sometimes they have maybe qualities to them or stats that are a little bit inconvenient. And you got to figure out, like, how do I overcome this little detriment or make my build into where it's a plus instead of a detriment, right? Like, it's a fixed thing that you have to build around, which is very different than a legendary. Also, ideally, we want players to run 2 to 4 uniques in their build. You know, one of the difficult parts of this, and I think we're going to be continuing to work on with the balance and design of uniques, is that, you know, we want you to run some, but we don't want you to run all of them in your build, right? It's very easy to go one way or the other. I can very easily make you run no uniques, and I can very easily make you run like every slot is a unique by making them really, really crazy, right? We want these to fit in such a way that you're running some of them, the ones that are applicable to your build, or maybe some spicy ones here or there that you try and, you know, like make in a special way to work with you, but not all of them. I would say right now, like on live in Season 4, players are running more like 0 to 2 in their build, so it's not as much as we want, which means that we want to update them to make them a little bit more attractive. And another one is we kind of want to move away from these generic fits-all build styles of uniques, right? One thing that I know a lot of players have talked about in the past that we've had is that some of our uniques are just so generically good, and this is particularly scary for us when it's like what we call a generic unique, which is one where every class can use it. And so like if every class can use it and every build can use it and it's better than like the build specific or class specific stuff, then it just becomes best in slot for everybody, and we've taken away your agency and your choice because you're just going to target this item and ignore everything else, right? The only items in the game that we really want to fit that role are like mythic uniques, where they're across all classes and they're so good, but they're also extremely rare. So you're very excited to see them whenever you see one. But all the other regular uniques, we don't want to fit that design space. So we're going to be trying to move away from these ones and readjust them and redesign them a little bit where they fit into all kinds of builds and kind of target something that they're really good at or that's a little bit more unique about them and make them really good at that and less generically good at everything.
It's funny because everyone's in the chat going like, oh, rip Shaco, but we just literally,
yeah,
we just
said. Mythics is not what I'm, they're
yeah.
a different beast here. I'm talking about all your regular ones.
Yeah,
Shaco's still going to be just as good, if not better, honestly. All right, so enough preamble, right? What are we actually doing? So we're going to be doing 2 big updates to uniques. The first one is we're going to be increasing the upper power of the unique effects and the roll range. We're going to be doing increasing the range from an average of 10 to 20 rolls, which I'll explain in a second. And then we're also going to be increasing the upper power of like how much you can get from the rolls. This is really just buffing pretty much most uniques across the board to compete with the new world of legendary powers that we live in, since, you know, they got extra power juice to them. Now uniques are catching up. So as an example here, I gave, you know, if an older unique like one on live gave you around 40 to 80% multiplicative damage, that's going to go up to like 40, 100, maybe 120, maybe even higher. Really, the mandate is as high as we can get away with without breaking things. And then we're also going to be increasing the roll range. This is like the number of possible rolls it can do from an average of 10 to 20. So it'll be a little bit harder to get basically, what we're targeting here is the discrepancy inside of a unique is a little bit wider, where the difference of like a low roll and a high roll is a little bit bigger, but the high rolls are way better than they were before. So they're more exciting when you get them really good, but it's a little bit harder to get there. And the next one is going to be updating the affixes, the actual stats on the uniques. We're doing a pass on all of them, and this is kind of what we're doing. The first thing is we're changing their stats to fit with the Season 4 updates, right? We're doing the things like we did before of simplifying stats, you know, getting rid of super conditional things, making them just more generically understood and good. We're also going to be adding tempering stats. We're open to really adding whatever we want that makes the unique fit the fantasy. So as an example here, you know, a lot of two-hand weapon uniques have a problem where they're all basically competing against bonus projectiles as an affix because you can just temper that onto your weapons, right? So when it comes to those kind of situations, we'll just slap the bonus projectiles on that unique, and now, you know, it's no longer competing in that way, or we have to kind of dance around it. We can just put it. We're also open to the idea, by the way, of breaking slot restrictions, kind of like we did in Season 2. So you can have bonus projectiles or other things on other slots. You know, like uniques are where we get to play a little bit. and just really make something thematic and cool and build defining, and so they have less restrictions than everything else. And the other one is we're updating the stat power levels and the effects. So the idea here that we're thinking, and this is particularly nuancey when it comes to generic uniques, but stats that kind of fit the theme or the fantasy of the unique are going to be like way stronger than your normal stats, right? So as an example, if you have a unique that's targeting fire damage, maybe it's like a meteor or firewall on the sorcerer, whatever it may be, that plus fire damage can be juiced up to be really, really high. But stats that are more like generically good, like, I don't know, attack speed, max life, resist all, those ones aren't going to be juiced unless it fits the theme of the unique really well. Right, so we have an example here of one that has been a problem for us in the past. I kind of want to go through how we would think about it. I'm not going to say exactly what we're going to do here to Tybalt's Will, but kind of give you our thought process, right? So Tybalt's Will, as many of you know, in previous seasons, was kind of a problem where it just became best in slot for almost every build. The famous line we say is that it was damage on pants, which was impossible to get almost anywhere else in the game. And it turned out damage on pants was really, really good, right? It also gave you damage reduction, one of the best stats in the game. And then it also gave you it also solved resource in many ways for you as well, right? It gave you a bunch of resource whenever you became unstoppable, which wasn't too hard to do. So it was doing a lot of things at once. It gave you a very unique effect with putting damage on a slot that you don't get it. It also gave you resource, which is something that every class wants, very heavily.
And Adam, it gave you 3 extra potions.
And 3 extra potions, yes. Now that one, that's all right. But yeah, so, the way that we would tackle this one, to give you an idea, is like, we either would kind of pick, do we want to focus this on the damage aspect, that it's damage on a non-damaged slot, or maybe we focus on the resource aspect and like double down on that and make that really powerful and really cool. Or we do like a little bit of both, but if we do both, then it's not going to give you the defenses that another pants slot would give, right? Basically, in our mind, we'd be like, we want to give the minimum amount of defense where it's not just like a trash item because it has nothing. But then after that, not so much. And you're going to have to solve your defenses in other slots or somewhere else to justify getting the damage on this slot, is how we would think about it, right? And so we're having a lot of conversations now. I don't think we're going to nail every single item perfectly in this first pass. So we're really looking for feedback when you jump into Season 5 and beyond, and we'll be adjusting them. But I kind of want to give you an idea of what we're doing and kind of what we're thinking and targeting with this. So I think we can move on. So Mythic Uniques are getting a facelift here. So lots of updates here. Mythic Uniques are now going to be truly mythic. They're getting a new color beam when they drop on the ground. They're coming out with an awesome new sound that you're going to hear in a little bit. We've got new item UI that you can see, so they have a different color. They really are going to look and feel like the special items that they are. And we have a video here to show you the sound and what it looks like on the ground. So you can see here, this beam looks very different than anything else. Isn't that sound, that echoey sound?
I like
love
that.
it.
It sounds like I don't know. It sounds like you're murdering a bunch of church organs or something like that. It's just like crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so when this thing drops, you're definitely gonna know when you got one. No more like sifting through your uniques to see if it's actually one of the mythics. You'll know right away. So we're really excited about this. Super happy it was able to get in. All right, and last but not least, let's talk about class updates. I'm going to cover some generic things across all classes and then go through a little bit of each one. Again, this is not going to be nearly close to everything that we're doing, just a little taste, a teaser for what you can expect to see. Let's start with things across all classes. One systemic update we're doing to the game is invulnerability skills are now going to start their cooldown when the invulnerability ends instead of when the skill begins. This is really to prevent things like infinite invulnerability and really to open up design space for us on the team, because now we can be more comfortable adding things like, invulnerable duration to skills or cooldown reduction more liberally and things like that, where we don't have to worry about this. This is very similar to what our previous games have done and some other games do, and we think it'll be a good fit here. The idea isn't really to make it that you can't be invulnerable very often. It's just to prevent 100% uptime, where you actually break down the combat of the game and you're not interacting with enemies anymore. The next one is we reviewed Monster CC, and we generally reduced the CC duration and frequency across the board. So, if you were frustrated by getting frozen for 1,000,000 years and then dying, that'll happen much less often. And also to help with this, potions can be used while CC'd, even while you're stunned. So, while you're frozen standing there and everybody's around you trying to kill you, you can at least spam potion a little bit and maybe survive sometimes.
That's OP.
Next one, we've got some bug fixes. These are some of the notable ones. We do have more coming in, but these are the ones I wanted to call out. Rogue Victimize is no longer going to be double dipping on its damage, which is resulting in a lot more multiplicative, or a lot more damage really than it was supposed to have. Damage over time effects were getting double the amount of percent damage that they were supposed to. And Skeleton Reapers were getting both Book of the Dead bonuses when the second option was selected. And again, this is just a little bit of a preview, but we have other bug fixes coming, but these are some of the bigger ones we want to call out. All right, now let's get to the classes. So Barbarian, they have a new unique coming in. This is the Unbroken Chain. This is for you support Barbarians, or really just more defensively oriented ones. Basically, what this is going to do is create a connection between Steel Grasp and Iron Maelstrom, where you'll be able to cast Iron Maelstrom a lot more often as you use Steel Grasp. And also, enemies damaged by Iron Maelstrom are going to be doing less damage for a little while. So the idea here is, you could debuff enemies, debuff those bosses, and make them do less damage to you, so you can survive better. And next, the Rogue. Flurry is going to be getting a lot of big updates. We updated the enhancement and both of their upgrades. So you'll be able to see kind of a theme here going on. Before, you would damage a crowd control or vulnerable enemy for the enhancement, then you would heal. Now, when Flurry hits an enemy, you can just make them vulnerable. So actually, Flurry becomes a vulnerable generator here, which is pretty exciting. And it'll also deal more damage as you hit vulnerable enemies. Stacks up really high. So the idea here is, with Flurry builds, you want to make everything vulnerable, and then just keep whacking them with Flurry and gain a bunch of damage. And now Improved Flurry is changing. Before it was about vulnerable spreading, but now baseline you can just generate vulnerable, so we don't need that anymore. So now Improved Flurry is going to actually give you a dash. So now, similar to things like the Shred on the Druid, you can kind of dash to your target, and also every time you cast Flurry now it's going to heal you. So it's going to be a lot more mobile, a lot more awesome. Very cool. And then last but not least, to compete with a dash, what could we do with Advanced Flurry? Well, we can just add a stupid amount of damage and resource cost reduction. So before, you had to evade through an enemy and then do damage with one cast and stun enemies. Now, as you spam Flurry, it'll basically get a big damage bonus, and its energy cost will go down, which will let you be able to spam it even more often. So the idea here is you just want to be using it over and over and over again, and it'll get stronger and stronger and ramp up pretty heavily as you go.
I'm excited for Flurry Rogues.
Yeah,
very excited. Yeah,
Flurry
they're going to be like little hummingbirds
love.
around, bouncing around, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, ironically, I'm playing Flurry this season, so I'm always off by one. Like, I always play the thing, and then oh, we're going to massively make it better next time. But it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Next, Druid, Shepherd's Aspect. We've gotten feedback from players now for a while now about how Shepherd's Aspect kind of dominates the meta for Druids, because you're basically it's both not great from a design and a balance perspective. On the design side, we're telling you to put companions on your bar, and then they're actually just buffing you. So, we make this companion build fantasy, but it's actually just making the player better. And then on the power side, you're basically just slotting 3 skills on your bar with your companions, and then not really caring about buffing them or using them, because they're just kind of there as proxies to make you better. So we've changed it now where, basically it's going to be about the companions. So your companion skills are just going to deal damage for every companion that you have. So, the bigger your zoo, the better your zoo is going to perform. And to compensate players, we're doing some pretty massive buffs to Druid skills baseline to compensate. So, your skills are just going to be getting that damage baseline, and in many cases a little bit more. So you can check that out when you see the PTR notes, the PTR patch notes after this. But we basically just buffed everything across the board and made it so that Shepherds isn't required anymore. Next, for the Sorceress, this is Axial Conduit. I'm really excited about this unique. This is your Chain Lightning unique. So Chain Lightning builds, you finally have a unique that really talks to you. And you can see here kind of our stats and that new philosophy I told you about. You have chance to double cast Chain Lightning on pants instead of just a weapon, so that's pretty cool. So basically, the way that this works, we're going to have a video, but I'm going to explain to you how this works, because it actually changes your skill pretty significantly. So now when you cast Chain Lightning, the way it's going to work is it's going to cast and bounce on enemies just like before, but then it's going to come back to you and orbit you a little bit. And then it's going to go out and hit another enemy, and then come back to you in orbit, and then come out and then go out and do another enemy and come back. And it's going to do that back and forth a few times. And every time it comes back to you, it's going to drain some of your mana. And after it drains so much mana, after coming back 10 times, the bolt is actually going to explode for a ridiculous amount of lightning damage on enemies.
That's
so there's a mini
cool.
game here where basically, oh, and by the way, you can cast multiple Chain Lightnings when this is out. You're basically going to be like running a gambit here, and the mini game is you want to stack as much resource regeneration as you can so that your lightning bolts can survive being drained over and over and bouncing everywhere, so that they can last to their explosion and do a ton of damage to enemies. One thing I want to call out here also is that because it drains mana, resource cost reduction won't work on that drain. You're actually
That's
going to
gonna
want
be
to
fun
focus
to
on
play with.
gaining resource.
Yeah, no shit.
Which is a little bit different and kind of makes this build a little special, I think, and unique compared to other resource builds based around resource. So now let's see it in action here. You'll see what one cast looks like, and then I think we'll see what it looks like when you spam it. So you can see here, it circles you, goes and hits enemies, circles you, goes and hits enemies, and then it does a big explosion at the end that we've tuned the damage to be pretty high. See there? So then it explodes. So, oh wait, do we have one where it casts a bunch of times? Maybe we don't. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So see here, you can see that, as you go, like, keep going, and then explode a bunch of times. Another thing I want to point out is if you're hugging enemies at melee range, as it's circling you, it will also hit enemies. So you now have a way to like really maximize your damage by hugging bosses and such. The damage goes way up. So next, last but not least, the Necromancer. So we got some feedback. We've had this for a while and felt this on the team where, the Golem we really love. We love our Golem boys. And, but sometimes it can be frustrating where you tell the Golem to go somewhere, and then it kind of takes a while to lug his butt over there and do his slam or his shout or whatever, and, things can get in the way. And so we've kind of upgraded him a little bit. I'll let the video speak for himself here. But so now you can see your Golem will Hulk smash and just jump on enemies and slam them down. So this will work with all of your Golem types, by the way, not just the Iron Golem, but now your Golem is going to leap to the area that you tell him to go and then cast its ability. So we're really excited about this. Shout out to Charles Dunn who got this change in, and our animators who helped us out. But we're really pumped for it. It looks amazing.
I think it should have been doing that to begin with.
Yeah. So those were the class and balance changes. And
Well,
I know we jumped a
nice
slide
that
there.
it's here now.
How dare you,
So
production? No, but we are, as they wave to me like, I'm sorry. We do want to go into some quality of life updates. We do have a significant amount of quality of life updates that we do want to go through that will be available in Season 5. And you guys will actually be able to check this out in the PTR. So now we can go to the next slide, where we do want to talk about some Helltide and Whisper updates specifically. So I know this has been kind of at least it's been a pain point for me, and I've heard it's been a pain point for others, is that as you guys are going through Helltide, there are Whisper objectives within there to help you with your progression on your Whisper bar. But the issue with the ones in Helltide is that it can sometimes take quite a while to do. And you sometimes players would have to leave the Helltide to go to another area to complete some of these Whisper objectives. So we are optimizing this to ensure that they don't take nearly as much time. The ideal goal is to get a bunch of value within those 15 minutes to potentially end up getting a full entire Whisper 10-point bar within 15 minutes in one Helltide
so you can do a full
zone.
Whisper every Helltide.
Yeah, so that would be it'll be a huge help, because I know at least for me, I've always had to like kind of leave a Helltide and like kind of try to knock some of that out. It'll especially help for players that are looking for additional gold, because Whisper caches have always been great sources of gold. And now, as Adam mentioned, you can also use Whisper caches to target farm.
Ooh, baby.
So it's keeping things more optimized for players, which we know will be way better there. The next thing we do want to talk about is also Baneful Hearts. I know this may not sound like a huge quality of life thing or a buff of any sort, but we have noticed that players have had a lot of Baneful Hearts within their inventory. We do want to make these a little bit more valuable so they won't drop as frequently. We know that players will still have a significant amount, but maybe not hundreds and hundreds like some people have within their inventory. But players should not have any type of issues regarding having a ton of these Baneful Hearts, but we are tweaking the drop rate because they were dropping a little too much there. Tempering. The very, very I guess like brought up topic. Well, and like
people like talking about tempering.
It's pretty popular.
Yeah, so I want to take a minute to talk about tempering and kind of how the design team sees it and kind of what we're happy with, what we think could be better, and some adjustments we'll be making in Season 5. So first, high level, kind of how we see tempering. We really think that it's important that items have an endpoint where players know kind of that the item is done and that they're not hoarding lots of them forever on the chance that they can all be good, right? One of the big key goals of Season 4 was that we didn't want you saving 1 million items in your stash space. And while we know that, bricking an item never feels great, we do need that to be something that's possible to do in the game so that you know when the journey is done and you're not just holding on to an item forever. So that part we actually think is working very well, where, an item is done and you try and go get another one. And so you're always interested in items and trying to, have that game loop go in the game indefinitely. Or until you feel like your character is maxed out on its power. But we do agree with players that, the RNG right now is like completely out of their hands, which doesn't really feel great. You get so many tries basically to roll, and then that's kind of it, and you're done, and it doesn't feel great. So we're looking at ways in the future for players to have more control over that RNG so that, you have more ways to maybe manipulate the tempering or get the odds in your favor and do other things like that. One update that's going to be coming in Season 5, it won't be in the PTR, but we're targeting for launch, is that, we've got a lot of feedback that it feels so bad when, you get that like triple greater affix and it has the same number of rolls and then you brick it and then you have to try and go get another one. So in Season 5, to help with this, as your item gets better, basically, that you find, you're going to have more chances to temper it. So a much better chance to get the one that you want. Basically, the way it'll work is you're going to basically get 1 extra roll per greater affix that you have. So, you get 1 greater affix, 1 roll, 3 rolls.
And again, just to clarify, this is not in the PTR, but it will be in for the launch of Season 5
Yeah,
in
so
itself.
you get your initial
again,
roll for
just
free.
to reiterate, we are
And then you have
still
5
looking at ways to help out that experience with
extra
tempering, as
greater
we noted.
affix,
We
you'll
agree
get
with
6,
players that it
2
doesn't
you'll
always
have
feel
7.
great. And so you guys
So on
should
and so
expect to
forth.
hear more updates to tempering after we get through Season 5 for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, weapons.
Yeah, so I'll talk about this one a little bit. We took a look
at this chart.
Yeah, this chart. We took a look at inherent affixes on weapons, and we found that, a lot of inherent affixes like damage to distant or some other ones were a little too conditional and didn't get the update, in Season 4 that we wanted. So we went back and made them a little bit more generically useful and better across more builds. So we have a little chart here, but you can see kind of this is going to be the new inherent affixes on all the different weapon types. So we've made quite a few adjustments here. As an example, vulnerable damage is on bows, and dot damage is on axes, which I believe vulnerable on bows is new. But yeah, so we made quite a few updates. We basically just looked at the matrices of everything and kind of adjusted it to see what makes sense. So basically, you're just going to have things that actually impact your builds much more often on the weapons that you want. And as another result of this update, we are also looking at what weapons classes can use. And we updated them a little bit to try and, let more classes use more weapons. We want players to be able to create interesting builds, play the way that we want. And so we want to open up these
can
things
use
as much
all
as we can
swords
in
and
our designs.
axes.
So now druids are going to be able to use 2-hand polearms, 1-hand swords and daggers. Sorceresses are going to be able to use 1-hand swords and maces. And necromancers are going to be able to use, I think it's maces and axes, actually.
Yeah, despite this necromancer pictured right here that is not using, it's using a two-handed sword, but you can already use a two-handed sword, but not using and the necromancer here, I know it's supposed to say all maces and axes as opposed to all swords, so.
But yeah, basically we're going to be opening up these classes to use more weapon types. And then also some of the uniques are going to be updated for the classes as well. So the Butcher's Cleaver can now be used for Necros, and Sorcerers can use Doombringer and Azure Wrath now.
Yeah, Sorcerers can use Azure Wrath, kind of like D2.
Yep, fits their theme very well too. So I think that'll be pretty cool.
Some additional quality of life updates. Now we're going to talk about some endgame bosses. As I have experienced, as Adam has experienced earlier, as he mentioned in the stream, we are making changes to the Beast in Ice. You guys will no longer have to make a sigil to summon the Beast in Ice, which is a huge quality of life update. The Beast will now live in a standard dungeon. The crawl to get to the Beast in Ice is much, much shorter now. It's going to be more similar to what we've seen with some of the other endgame bosses. And then at the same time, Eternal players that have maybe already built out some of these sigils, we made sure to keep you in mind so you can still use the sigils to fight the boss. You won't just you won't need summoning materials. You can just use the sigil right there in the boss room in itself. And this no longer requires sigil dust to actually summon the Beast in Ice. So some big changes to the Beast in Ice to help out that whole entire feel, especially when you're really target farming the Beast in Ice. Sometimes it was kind of brutal to have to go through the whole entire dungeon each and every time.
Yeah, so many times.
Yeah. So next we have Varshan. Varshan, the body parts are pretty much being reduced to one. I know it was eating up a lot of inventory space. It was kind of hard to manage at times and everything. So we're optimizing this, making this better. So now you'll just need one body part to essentially summon Varshan going forward, starting with Season 5.
That's good.
And one big thing that we're going to call out here before, and this is kind of like the cherry on top, let's actually just play the clip and see if people actually notice it. And if not, then we'll call it out.
What could be different this time?
Poor Duriel.
Yeah, Mythic Unique maybe?
Oh.
No, that's not it.
Oh. Good gear, though.
Yeah,
But something that is interesting here is the cauldron
look.
has reappeared.
You can just resummon him again.
There's the altar right there. You can now resummon all the endgame bosses without needing to run out of the dungeon.
Reset the
dungeon.
Lord.
So this will help whole lot. Will make things way better in terms of like optimizing.
That's a fucking win right there. Touchdown.
Especially when you're in a party and you're like, everyone leave the dungeon so I can reset and stuff like that. Now you'll be able to do that immediately
Thank
for all the
fucking
endgame
goodness.
bosses, which is a huge feature I know that players have been asking for. So that will be also incorporated into Season 5. So lots and lots of changes for Season 5. One other thing I did want to call out regarding tempering, because just to clarify, because we've got some people going like, oh, I don't understand like the greater affix stuff, like in terms of additional rolls. If you have a 1-star greater affix, you'll get 1 additional roll. If you have like a 3-star or 4-star or something, you would get 3 or 4, pending the amount of stars that you actually specifically have on your item.
Yeah, I think it goes up to 3.
Yeah,
so
3. Sorry, Four is more specific. 4 is uniques. Yeah. If thinking razor blade or something like that. But the other thing that I did want to call out is that this is actually going to be retroactive. So for players that still have maybe an item that they may have potentially bricked and it's sitting in their stash, just for like memento purposes or anything like that.
Or whatever,
when your character does move to Eternal, if it was a greater affix, like a 3-star greater affix or something like that, you will end up getting those 3 additional rolls afterwards. So that will appear after these changes actually are implemented with the start of Season 5. It'll just be on your Eternal character, obviously, because your seasonal character will move to Eternal. As I fix my earpiece. That's like falling out.
Oh, no.
But one other thing I did want to call out as well for Season 5, we have some really big like accessibility options that are being added to the actual game, and we really need some testing on this in the Season 5 PTR. This is actually called out in our blog. We would really love if players can actually check them out, test them out, provide feedback. I will note we aren't planning, despite it being in the Season 5 PTR, we aren't planning on these features actually launching with Season 5. We really want to take the feedback, make them, better for when they are ready. And right now, I think that the plan would be that they would be ready for Season 6. But it's important for us to be able to get that feedback. So we really need people to actually test out these specific features. We have like an auto pin feature, we have a compass feature, and then we have like a audio navigation assistance feature that is coming within some of these accessibility features for Season 5. So really important for people to kind of like jump in, check it out, give us feedback, and then you'll see those in Season 6 after the PTR is kind of over. But that is kind of like a huge wrap-up of all the stuff that is coming for the Season 5 PTR, and even a little bit more of even some of the stuff for Season 5 itself. We do want to take some questions, and we still have Dan on the line from the burning hells of Albany to answer any questions that we may have. But I know we have a question specifically teed up, so if you have questions, please ask them in Twitch chat, which is where we have live chat going on right now, and we will try to get through as many as possible.
Cool.
But first question I believe we have is, because I teed up this question, are there any new class buffs coming to Season 5? Specifically, if Adam can answer, Druid and Sorceress, because I know, we hear you, everyone, about Druid and Sorceress. I know we talked a little bit about it here, but if you can like expand on it a little bit.
Yes, there are new class buffs coming to Season 5, covered a little bit. I think one thing to call out that people talk a lot about right now is, how barbarians in particular are pretty strong, and then, the classes that can't get as far as they can in the pit, feels kind of bad. There's a lot to chew on there, but I think the short answer is yes, we hear you, and we're going to be looking to beef these things up. We do have some specific ways that we want to be targeting these things, and there's a lot of history to it. Barbarians in particular are tougher to balance. I think I've talked about this on stream a little bit before of, because of their arsenal system, they have more items. Anytime that we mess with, and we've messed with like the underlying systems of the game very heavily in the last year, right? Season 2, we updated all the combat math, which of course impacts items, which impacts character power. We've updated in Season 4 all of itemization, which obviously directly impacts the arsenal system very heavily. So when we do these large shakeups, it's a lot more difficult in a short amount of time to get everything, exactly perfect of how the combinatorics of those effects are going to impact classes, right? So that's one end of it. Another end is what we're trying to do, and we started with this in Season 4, is we're looking at the other class mechanics, and we want to kind of beef them up and give them the treatment that we kind of gave with the Necromancer in the Book of the Dead. In Season 4, we actually wanted to try this as an experiment, like, hey, the Book of the Dead, the minions, the sacrifice bonuses, they're what really make Necromancer feel really cool and special and unique. So we're going to, try and catch that up, so to speak, to the arsenal system on the Barbarian. And not only just increase the numbers, right? Because just increasing the numbers is kind of easy. We even did that in the mid-season patch. If you look at the Druid boons, we increased them by 50%, doubled them in many cases. But we think to really help solve that on a fantasy and even just design perspective, we want to overhaul and really look at these mechanics and make them way better and more thematic to classes. So we don't have anything to announce today for Season 5, but that's something more long-term that we're doing to help that problem in the future. In the short term, we are looking at fixing the issues with these various classes, buffing them up in different ways, making different builds and other things viable and trying to keep that parity. We're also looking at bringing down the outliers of power with the Barbarian in different ways to make sure that they have more parity with other classes as well. But that's kind of our short and long-term vision of where we want this to be.
Awesome. I know we have a question specifically, and this is something I've seen a few times regarding Season 5 for Dan, because Infernal Hordes, people are seeing this gameplay and they're hearing about can I play this on Eternal and Seasonal? Can I play this? Is this like an ongoing thing going forward? What can players expect, Dan?
Sure, yeah. So with Season 5, we wanted to build out the end game. And because we're building out the end game, we wanted to make sure that any of the end game things we're putting in are on both Seasonal and Eternal. And so in this PTR, you'll be able to test out the Eternal version of Infernal Hordes. And so any of the rewards you get from it, all that's Eternal. So all players are going to benefit from it.
Awesome. Yeah, so all players will benefit from it, and as Dan mentioned, it's a new endgame feature, so it's like something that will be continuous beyond even Season 5 is what we're looking at. So yeah, players can expect to jump in Infernal Hordes going forward, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, the feedback is going to be incredibly important during this PTR. As Dan mentioned beforehand, all the specific items that we're really hoping to get feedback on regarding how the boons feel, how the rewards feel, how the combat feels, and the waves and stuff like that will be really important for us during this specific moment. What is this is another Season 5 question, and hopefully you might be able to answer this, Dan. This from Lucky Luciano. Shout out, Diablo partner. What is the equivalent pit level of the 8th difficulty of the Infernal Hordes? Pit level, I guess, or Nightmare Dungeon, or Monster level.
Yeah, you're making me do math here.
Yeah, we just adjusted pit levels.
Yeah,
too, so
tier 8 of the Infernal Hordes is going to be equivalent to about monster level. I think it's 180 to 200. So it goes up pretty high.
That's pretty late.
Okay, nice, nice. So a difficult challenge for sure, which is good to hear. We have a question from Zapadas. Man, y'all need easier names, I swear. Do you foresee changes in grouping in the pit to allow group play to be more efficient? There will be changes. It won't be something present in PTR. We'll talk more about it at the Season 5 launch, but the team is very aware of it because we've heard about like, hey, it's kind of not great to feel like I'm getting only 50% of the rewards associated when I'm in a group within a pit if I'm not the party leader specifically. So it's something that the team's taking in, and we will have an update for players before Season 5, and it will be live, whatever change we have live in Season 5. So a question from, let's see, I don't know. Oh, this one's easy. Okay. Robot Jomo. What's the team's philosophy on rate of power gain? It seems that tempering, especially players, gain too much power too quickly, really removing the tension from the leveling up experience. Any chance to add more friction to tempering, materials, costs, etc.?
Yeah. We have seen a little bit of this and heard this feedback ourselves. It's kind of going in two different ways here. So the leveling experience, then how tempering messes with it, right? The leveling experience, as people probably have seen, has been sped up quite a bit, right? We do want people to be able to kind of level quickly and get to the fun of the game as quickly as possible. So we do want them, we don't want there to be a ton of friction. Like, when we first launched the game, we had the idea that, like, getting to level 100 alone was a big accomplishment, right? And we've learned that, players really want to, like, fulfill their power fantasies, get to the part where they're actually, like, incrementally increasing their character's power and finding things to use that power against. And so they enjoy that end game a lot, and we want to get them there in a reasonable amount of time. So that's the part that is like, hey, it's fine, level quicker, it's good, right? But then the other part is, like, tempering and kind of the tuning of the affixes. We have heard the feedback and kind of agree with it that, the early tempering recipes are really, really strong. Right? That was by design when we launched Season 4. One of the big kind of mandates to the team that we felt was important was we wanted, before Season 4, we constantly got the feedback and knew it was true that, your item stats weren't interesting enough and didn't matter enough and weren't very impactful and just didn't feel good, right? And so we very much like juiced them up to be very strong, and then this new tempering system that manipulates them, we made it very strong so that out the gate, our goal was that when you temper an item, you can really feel the damage. It wasn't like this incremental, my damage goes up in like 10 different places here and there, and now I'm strong. It was like, no, this one thing happened, and you felt it, and it was good. And so we're going to, try and walk that line. We're going to probably go a little more in between here where, we do agree that the tempering is warping the early game experience too much to the point that it's like you pick up an item and you don't care about the stats because you just temper something on and it's like way better. Right? So we don't want that, but we do still want them to feel and be really impactful. So we have heard the feedback. I don't think we have huge adjustments in Season 5 right away, but we are going to be looking at that leveling process and streamlining that quite a bit. I'm actually in talks about that right now with various members of the team. So it will be looked at. Not tons will change in Season 5, though.
Awesome. Question from Razzle Dazzle Daris. Razzle Dazzle Daris. It's a long name to log in on. Did you say we can temper uniques? Are you open to letting us imprint affixes? I had this thought we can imprint a unique, but only once.
Yeah, going back, that was kind of what I talked about with the unique section. We right now know, I'm not going to say never in the future. It's definitely the obvious thing that we could do, like, just add tempering to uniques, of course. But we want them to have an identity that is very different from legendaries. One of the concerns with that is that the more that you give uniques manipulation, the more that they just turn into legendaries with a different item color when they drop on the ground, right? Like, they're actually not different in how they work. If we were able to manipulate stats, add stats, all those things. So we do want them to have a different identity in the game. So we're not doing it now, but in the future, we've talked about it. We're open to the idea, but we do want to try this first of like, double down, what makes a unique, and that you build around it. There's a little bit of friction rather than just turning it into the item that you want every time.
Yep. Question from Barrick is, hey, Adam, or Adams. I have a question for the Q&A. How is the dev team feeling about the reception of Season 4? Is that making them rethink any plans for future seasons? I mean, I think one thing that we can most definitely call out here is, like, obviously Season 4 has been really great. Like, we've been hearing a lot of great feedback from players. And we're very well aware of how everyone's been enjoying it. I think one huge thing that's helped with that as well was like the idea that we had a PTR for Season 4, and now we're seeing that again for Season 5. So like we know like having that moment where players can actually jump in, provide feedback, give us some notes on specific things is really beneficial, especially when we have like new huge features like what we did for Season 4, which was, you know, obviously tempering, masterworking, the pit, all new hell tides. There was a ton of new features. And then, of course, with Season 5, you know, players are now going to be able to run through Infernal Horde, tons of new gear, and legendary aspects for them. So it's just like a ton of stuff that we know that we can most definitely take feedback on, and having those moments has really helped us with some of those decisions.
Yeah, I would say on the design team side, I know like the people on the team are very happy with how Season 4 went. It couldn't have gone better, really, in our eyes. PTR was a huge deal, helped us a lot, especially on the balance and design side to, you know, get things into a better place. Another thing I may call out with Season 4 is that, I think how to phrase it, like, you know, there's been a lot of disruption to the game, right? And so when there's that much disruption of like, you know, we update all the core math and all the items and everything, you know, it's very difficult to get things into a fine-tuned state, right? And, you know, without giving anything away, we have big updates coming in the future with, you know, expansion and other things. But one of the things that we're looking forward to, I think, as a team is when we've kind of settled down a little bit on the big disruptions, like overhauling, you know, all of itemization and things like that. Because, you know, it becomes a lot more difficult to fine-tune things like balance, or even on the design side, like designs and making sure that they work and that we're like iterating and upgrading things versus, you know, changing things around in huge ways. So while we think it was really successful and we're happy with how Itemization 2.0 turned out, the team is looking forward to like making the things as they are and make them work better and more do fine-tuning work. And so I think you can expect in the future as a player, you know, after we've done some more disruption and made the game like in a really good place, we're very happy with it, which we're really close to now, I think. That you have tighter class balance, tighter designs, tighter roles for things, and just, you know, one of the things that excites me and excited the team about Season 4 was like the tons of quality of life improvements and how much of an impact that makes on players, which I think we knew, but it hit home in Season 4, right? Like just the Codex of Power, how that changed and how that completely fixed, you know, the hoarding of items and things like that, I think are what really jazz us a lot, because it just makes that flow experience better, like the boss ladder, you know, being able to reset bosses, stuff like that, I think is actually really impactful and good for the longevity of the game. So we're excited to do more things like that.
All right. Last question that we have here is well, it's just Satan's.
Oh,
Satan's with a Z and 666 afterwards. Very good theme.
Diablo.
Yeah,
Perfect.
very Diablo theme. Is specifically asking, what is the seasonal theme? Or are we like holding back any information right now regarding that and stuff? Dan, I don't know if you want to clarify here, or if you want me to, you can.
All right, so we haven't announced the name for the season yet, as far as I know, but the seasonal theme seems, I guess, fairly obvious. You know, we're going back to hell, and so the theme is pretty much returning to hell. And while the Infernal Horde is just one part of that, the rewards are another part. And when we have our Season 5 live stream, we'll go into all of the rest of the things that we have planned for Season 5.
Exactly. Yeah, we have some additional stuff to talk about when we do actually have our Season 5 live stream. We're just right now, the biggest focus for this stream is for people to hear about the content that they're going to be able to play in PTR, and we want people to really hone in and focus in on that, so we can actually get that feedback for the team here, and we can make any changes that we may need to.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, that is kind of going to wrap us up for today for our Q&A. I'm going to lightning round like a few quick things, because I'm sure chat will kill me if I don't call it out. I know we're getting a lot of questions about loadouts. It is, again, still something that we are very well aware of, and we still plan on. It just takes a lot of time. It's a huge amount of overhaul changes and everything from that end. Separately, this has been coming up a lot. Auction house. There are currently no plans right now for something like that, but we hear you guys. We feedback, things like that, let us know. But right now, those are the two big things that I've been seeing a ton
I
in
don't know
chat.
if I
just
want
wanted
to do an
address them
auction
before people
house
go
in
like,
this game or
"You're
not.
not reading chat.
Yeah.
You're in some like alternate
Honestly,
universe
I'm
chat or
not- I'm
something
not
like that."
interested in an auction
But
house in this game.
PTR again, just to remind everyone, starts next Tuesday.
I don't
It
see a
runs for
need
1 week.
for it,
It's on
really.
PC BattleNet only. Please provide feedback on our forums, Reddit, social media, our community Discord, things like that. We're always looking around. We really value the feedback that we get during these PTR processes. And of course, at the same time, patch notes on the blog are live immediately after this stream. So check out Diablo4.com when those do get up. Next time you guys see us, next time we stream, is July 18th. It's the Spiritborn reveal.
Ooh, that's
yeah,
exciting.
everyone gets to check out the Spiritborn. So we'll be back live on stream on July 18th. We'll be revealing the brand new class coming to Diablo 4 that will be part of Vessel of Hatred. So we're really excited about that. And yeah, I think that wraps it up. I want to give a huge shout out to Dan in Albany.
Yeah, thank you,
Stay cool, Dan.
Yeah.
Enjoy the AC.
Cool.
The
burning fire under him.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And thank you again, Adam Jackson. And from everyone on the Diablo 4 team, we wish you a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in PTR next week.
Thank you, everybody.
See you guys.
All right, huge win on the automatic reset on the bosses.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. Not the webcam. Turn this off real quick.
I'm looking forward to the PTR. They're only doing it for like a week again?
Doing it for a week, yep.
Yeah. Which, at least this time, like the last PTR was horrible because you wanted to play the new ones so bad. At least now we have a playable game to satisfy us until the next season. The last one was everything we wanted in the game, but no, you got to wait months to be able to play it that way. Well, I'm not going to say everything we wanted, but a vast improvement. And we literally had to sit there and suffer.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for the patch notes to pop up. Go through it.
Did they say if there were any new Ubers? I know they said there was a lot of new legends and.
No, they just said that there's 50 new uniques and legends. That's all it said. Over 50 new uniques and legends.
Well,
as far as Ubers are concerned,
they didn't say anything.
Not necessarily Ubers, no. Although, they are redefining Ubers. No, excuse me, uniques. So, like Ubers, they're making so that they're not class specific, but they're going to make the uniques so that uniques are more class specific instead of being like a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So that way, when it drops, like a sorcerer gets a good drop, for whatever it is that their build they're doing, fire, ice, electricity, whatever. It's a drop that they can use and not necessarily a scout.
Well, I mean that's good, and I have noticed that there's already if you play a certain class, you're still class specific items, so they're going to focus more on. Well, and
they're reworking Ubers, or not Ubers, but uniques, so that they want classes to be wearing 2 to 4. And they said right now they're wearing 0 to 2.
Well, yeah, I made that same comment when the season came out. All the the S class builds and stuff, besides the one helmet, had no uniques or.
Right.
But you come to find out that only the uniques had the reduced damage.
Right. They had damage reduction on them. Okay, so D4 is ending early August. Season 4 is ending early August. Season 5 is going to be shorter, ending October 8th, with Season 6 and the expansion picking up on October 8th. So Season 5 is only going to be for, let's say, 9 weeks. That's it.
Well, that's still plenty.
So.
Let's face it, it's not. I mean, it's not like you can't do the seasonal stuff within a short amount of time.
Right.
And I'm definitely looking forward to the expansion of the game.
So for Season 5, they're doing the Infernal Hells, which you need a compass to access. Kind of like you need sigils for nightmares. You need a compass to access.
Which is basically a cross between Nightmare and the Pit.
Basically, yeah. But whereas Nightmare goes up to 100, Pit goes up to 200, and the Inferno Hells only go up to tier 8.
Yeah, but tier 8's a level 200 mobs.
Right. So from what I can understand, the Infernal Hells can be upgraded with Abyssal Scrolls. Yeah, as you kill monsters, you get Burning Aether, which is a new currency. And then there's like 4 or 5 chests that end up after you kill the 3 of the 5 bosses that pop up at the end. When you're killing the mobs to get to the boss, after you've killed the mobs, you have to kill so many mobs. Then you get to choose one of 3 items. It gives you 1 boon and 1 bane. And then you fight some more mobs, gather up all your aether, and then you go and you fight the Fell Council, which is 3 of 5 that pop up. And every time you kill one, the other 2 get stronger. Then you kill that one to where the last one, like the guy was saying, was as you get closer to tier 8, basically just popping off room clearing spells. So
yeah.
Uniques and Ubers now can drop from Helltide Chest, Obols, and Silent Chests.
Whisper Chest.
No, Silent Chests. Oh, and Whisper Chest, yes. Well, Whisper Chest, Helltide Chest, because they can already drop from Helltide Chest, but you can target farm Helltide Chest. So, like if you have a specific weapon unique you're looking for, or weapon Uber you're looking for, you just open up the Helltide Chests that are weapon chests. But Helltide Chest, Whisper Chest, Obols, and Silent Chests. Silent Chests are the ones that need the keys.
Yeah. Which I always forget to put the keys in my bag. I have them all like one character, and I always forget to swap them over.
Patch notes after the stream. I'm still waiting for those to pop up. But
Any takeaways?
the fucking Uber bosses without resetting them is fucking nice.
Yeah, that stood out the most to me, which is an automatic win right there. That's gonna make it so much less aggravating trying to do that. I do like the fact that you don't have to go through the dungeon with the beast in the ice. That's a nice change too. I mean, it's a little dungeon like the rest of them, but you ain't got to go through the better half of one to get to it.
Diablo 4 Season 5 PTR, what you need to know. I'm just going to skim through this. Let me pull this up over here. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So what we need to know, it says. Do you dare to call their threat? The second PTR for D4 is coming. Available from June 25th till July 2nd on PC. Okay. Alright, here we go. New Eternal quest line, The Eyes of the Enemy. A new story where enemies are cut down, alliances shift, and unlikely friends emerge from the shadows. After the events of the quest line takes place after the events of the main quest line, is available on both seasonal and eternal realms, and will remain on the eternal realm once season 5 is over. Head to Hawazar, so bottom right of the world map, in tier 3, and investigate a disturbance amongst the city folk. Completing this quest line will allow you to battle the infernal hordes. The new gameplay activity coming with season 5. You only have to complete this quest once across your account. More powerful. Okay, so the infernal hordes is an activity where you slay hordes while earning burning aether to unlock powerful weapons and rewards. Successfully slay the hordes and you'll be able to fight powerful fell council. Hell compasses can be found by defeating endgame bosses, hell tides, nightmare dungeons, and whispers. A hell compass will be granted to you upon completing the newest eternal quest. It says I have an ad break. I finally got it to where it pops up in the chat now. Ad break ends in 6, 5, okay. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. You see, you fight these mobs, and then you have these 3 hands pop up. And it says soul spires. So you get to choose which one you want, and you see it gives you 1 bane and 1 boost. Then after you beat them, you have to defeat waves. Or after you pick that, you have to defeat waves. So let's see.
It's gonna be something else to do in the end game.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like the pit where you get materials for a certain thing in there, but it does give reward boxes with chance for Ubers and materials or gold or whichever you choose.
Upon defeating each wave, hell will tempt you with an infernal offer. Okay. Gives you a choice of 3 different boons and banes that modify your run. Select one. Elite damage increased. Elites grant increased burning aether. So you take more damage from elites, but they give you more material. They give you more currency. Choose wisely. Infernal offers will stack against the duration of your infernal hordes. Okay. Oh, so you get one after each run.
And it lasts throughout the remainder of the run. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to take elites get stronger each time because by the end of it, they're just going to stomp a mud hole in you.
Burning aether is earned individually, regardless of playing solo or in a group. This lets you decide how to spend it at the end of your run. Okay. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3. There's another one over here that you can't see in this picture. 4. There will be 4 different spoils of hell available on completing your Infernal Horde. Equipment, materials, gold, or greater equipment. The spoil of hell guarantees an item with a greater affix. Okay, so greater equipment is a greater affix.
Which is a good way to, guarantee a greater affix.
Right. So we have Infernal Horde's Compass, which are going to take up bag space, because apparently it tells you monster level, how many rely. So at tier 3, the monster level is 100. So that should be easy enough then.
Yeah. But what was the other thing? You don't need 4 pieces to summon that.
Right. So you don't need the head. You don't need the head, the hand, all that. You just need 1 piece.
So they were saying something about the hearts not dropping it. The hearts are the ones to summon
the chicken Helltide. Yeah. That they are dropping too much, so they're going to cut those back a little.
As somebody who's rolled multiple characters for Helltide purposes, I don't feel that they're dropping enough. But
exactly.
I can see where people that are sticking to one character may have them stacked in their bag.
Well, yes, because when we were playing just one character, we were stacking them.
Yeah.
Playing multiple characters, we've used them up.
Oh, yeah. But that's because we're trying to do the Iron Wolves on multiple characters. A lot of people don't play
tier
it
increases the number of waves, starting at 5 for tiers 1 through 3, increasing until a maximum of 10 waves with tier 7 or tier 8 Infernal Compass. It also increases the starting difficulty of monsters and increases the potency of your rewards while decreasing the number of revives. Abyssal Scrolls can be used to upgrade your Infernal Compass by upgrading their tier. Infernal Compasses will only drop at tiers 1 through 3. Abyssal Scrolls will be needed to increase them to max tier 8. Okay. So tier 1 Infernal Compass you can get at World Tier 3. Tier 2 is available at World Tier 4. Includes bonus affixes, which can increase craft materials and legendary and unique drop rates. Tier 3 is available at level 100. Includes bonus affixes, includes spoil of greater equipment. Okay, so tier 2 gives you, so tier 1's going to give you the spoils of equipment and materials. Yes or no? Spoils of equipment. Tier 2 gives you spoils of equipment, crafting materials, and will drop legendary and uniques. And tier 3, which is available at level 100, includes bonus affixes and includes the spoil of greater equipment. Okay. Battle the Fell Priest. The priests will become more frenzied in their attacks. Stay on your guard. You can spend your burning aether on spoils of hell. Okay. New weapons and items. Legendaries, uniques, and items. Endgame boss. No longer need to reset the dungeon. Thank you. Summoning Varshan now only requires malignant hearts. The hands, the femurs, and the heads have been removed from the game.
I wonder if you'll get malignant hearts for the hands, femurs, and stuff that you have in your bag or your inventory.
Endgame bosses now drop additional gold instead of rare items. Oh, and another thing, which I don't know if you heard, because you said you were going to be back in 10 minutes. But, so the PTR starts Tuesday. The notes I wrote down. lasts 1 week, PC only, but characters that we currently have been copied over to the PTR.
I came back in about that time.
So you can
So-
either play a character you currently have, or you can roll a character and go and boost it up to 100.
Which we both have characters for each class, so there's no reason why we can't just use characters we already got.
Correct.
Wait, did they copy characters from the season or from the?
My understanding is it's from our account.
So whether we choose to play the PTR as a seasonal or as a eternal, either way.
Right. Well, if you want to play the new quest line, you're going to play seasonal.
Oh yeah.
Helltide Whispers. Now made it so that there are always enough whispers to earn 10 favors within a given Helltide. Should now take significantly less time to complete.
That's actually a huge plus as far as helping to level, because those give good XP
and gold
and gold and
weapons. And now that you can also get Ubers from them.
Yeah,
stuff like
so
that.
That's a plus. That's definitely a plus.
So the hearts for summoning the chick, chance to drop from tortured gifts starts at 13% and increases each time you fail to get one. Once you're rewarded, it resets back to 10%. So I'm assuming it's supposed to be 10%, not 13%. Hellborn and the Helltide Assassins start at a 1% chance to drop a heart and increase each time you fail to get one, and now resets to 2. Okay. Cull the Demons Whisper Bounty now includes Cull Fallen. Whisper Bounty now replaced with Cull Cultist. Okay. Resplendent Spark rewards for defeating tormented bosses can now be earned separately on both hardcore and softcore. Resplendent Sparks and Scattered Prisms will no longer be automatically picked up. These items can now be found in the Lost Item Stash if you forget to get them. So just like if you don't pick up your Legis, they go to the Lost Item Stash.
Cool.
Unique and Uber items can now be acquired through Whisper Cache, Obols, and Tortured Gifts in Helltide. I could have sworn they said Silent Chest, but okay, so I guess Silent Chest is not there. Loot quality from treasure goblins has been improved. 1 to 3 legendary items, 2 to 6 rare items. The higher the number of legendary drops, the lower the number of rare drops. And then the opposite is also true. So if it drops 2 legendaries, then 4 rares will drop. They will now drop 1 to 2 elixirs and are guaranteed to additionally drop ore, herbs, leather, and gem fragments. Increase the amount of gold that they drop. So in level 1, World Tier 1, it'll drop 40,000 gold. Level 100 in World Tier 4 is 150,000 gold. Increase the amount of gold that drops. Examples. Level 1, World Tier 1 is 40,000 gold. Level 100 in World Tier 4, 150,000 gold. Okay. In World Tiers 3 and 4, Goblins also drop Forgotten Souls. They now have a 10, 20, and 30% chance to drop 1 to 2 Scattered Prisms. World Tiers 1 and 2, World Tier 3, and World Tier 4, respectively. So 10% in World Tier 1 and 2, 20% in World Tier 3, 30% in World Tier 4. Okay. Sorcerers can now use one-handed swords and maces. More classes, more weapons. Okay.
Who wants to see a necro with a two-handed axe?
Yeah, no shit. So features offered for testing. We'll have servers for the PTR in our largest regions. Characters on your account have been copied ahead of time to help prepare for the PTR. Although some of their items may be out of date compared. What just happened?
So some of the items we have on may have changed for the PTR.
What the hell just happened? Okay. Some of the items may be out of date compared to how they are currently set up in the game. Your account will carry over the following account-based progress: campaign completion, mounts and skill points, fog of war, altar of Lilith stat bonuses. Following features will be offered. You can instantly boost to 100. There'll be a NPC in Zarbin Zet, so bottom of the map. It says boost me to 100. Once you get boosted to 100, you get all new legendaries, one unique for each class, 100 million gold, 1,000 ovals, 2 random sets of ancestral gear at item power 920, upgraded potions, fully unlocked paragon glyphs, up to 10 tempering manuals, class specific. Okay. How to provide feedback, how to install the PTR. Season 5 patch notes. Tempering recipes. Worldly finesse offensive. Critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, overpower damage, and ultimate damage. So the Barbarian got a unique item, the Unbroken Chain Amulet, which you saw. Druid got the Bjorn Fang's Tusk, unique gloves. Necromancer got Path of Tragul, unique boots. Let's see here. Rogue got Shroud of Condurus, unique chest armor. Dark Shroud grants immune for 3 seconds, but your evade cooldown is increased by 9 to 3 seconds. Evading while Dark Shroud is active leaves behind an explosion that deals shadow damage and pulls in enemies. Okay. Sorcerer got Axial Conduit, unique pants. Tempering, blah 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 blah. Balance updates. Barbarian's Bash, Flay, Endless Fury. Okay, this is Druid. Necromancer minion attacks can now overpower. Minions are now more aggressive and will automatically engage nearby enemies. The golem is far from the target location and now leaps to the target. Iron Golem slam size increased by 56%. Skills, passives. Bursting bones. Let's see here. Unique items. Paragon, the Rogue. Maximum arrow storms increase from 5 to 7. Preparation. Skills. Let's see. Move through enemies and prevent your movement speed. So, Blade Shift. Now quickly stab your victim for damage and shift. making you unhindered for 4 seconds. So you can just run through mobs without being slowed. That's nice.
Sounds like the shift is going to be the build for the road.
We have caltrops, damage increased by 13% from 0.4 to 0.45. Discipline caltrops says critical strike chance bonus increased from 5 to 10%. Smoke grenade, poison imbuement. Grants 30 energy, increased by 2 for each nearby poisoned enemy. Poison trap, penetrating shot, rain of arrows. Malice, second wind, aftermath, weapon mastery. 5, 6. So the explosion damage of victimize, which is what I'm currently running on my rogue, has been increased by about 50% to compensate for a bug fix detailed below. Okay. Tricksters, noxious eyes.
DM just posted some on the new D4.
Did he? Scoundrel's Kiss, explosion radius increased by 10%. Decoy trap damage increase. Visual. So, no witnesses legend is now capped at a maximum damage bonus of 35%. Resources on ultimate damage, skill damage added to the rogue's paragon board. Okay. And of course, Sorcerer. The Sorcerer's new.
Yeah, that new skill, I mean, it almost makes me want to play the Sorcerer.
Yeah, that new unique that they've got.
Yeah, I've got a Sorcerer at level 90. I could go ahead and get it up to 100 and be ready for the. Well, if they've already copied it over and it's only level 90, if I level it up now and it's already copied, it'll still only be 90, right?
Yep.
That sucks.
But it's level 90. Just go to Zarbin's and ask him to boost it to 100.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They did say, what did they say about that? Where the last one, when you did it, it reset everything?
Yeah, well, that was, so, like, the last PTR, I rolled up a character, went to the guy, got to 100, started picking up a bunch of affixes and stuff like that for the codex. And I was like, well, I want to try a different class. So I went to a different class, went to the guy, boosted to 100, and my codex got emptied out. Everything reset to 0. And it wasn't supposed to do that. So they're saying that it's not going to do that this time
around. Okay. So you could just roll new characters and go to 100, but
right. So, okay. Well, I wasn't feeling well yesterday. I'm feeling better, but I'm still gonna sit and relax today. So it's been 2 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and call the stream for today, and be back on Monday. Tuesday we'll play PTR. So Monday,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Monday,
We'll do a long day at the beginning of the PTR.
yeah, probably stream early on Tuesday. Because normally we can download that beforehand, like Monday night. So
What time is it supposed to launch? Around 1 o'clock our time?
that's normally when they launch. It's like 1, 2 o'clock. So right in that time frame somewhere. Like season normally starts at 1 o'clock. So I'm gonna say it's gonna probably be 1 o'clock. But so everyone take care. Have a good weekend. And we'll be back here on Monday. Grim and I can go ahead and finish up Halo 1
That's right.
before hitting
Understood.
Season 5 PTR on Tuesday.
Yeah, we gotta finish that up. We're what? We're a good ways into it. We should be able to finish it up.
We would have finished it up yesterday, but excuse me. Like I said, I'm trying to get better. So, all right, take care, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.
Later.